Okay, so get this. You're just paddling along, in your little inflatable raft out in Patagonia.
Wow.
And all of a sudden,
Oh, boy.
a humpback whale comes up and, engulfs you.
This is for real.
Yeah, this is a real story
Oh, wow.
we're diving into today.
I'm ready.
We found this on an English learning podcast.
Yeah.
They were using, a news story to teach English.
Cool.
And this one was just too good not to share.
Can't wait.
But it really does raise the question, how do you even survive being swallowed by a whale?
That's a great question. And it turns out the answer has a lot to do with whale anatomy.
Okay.
Specifically, humpback whales. You see there what's called a baleen whale.
Okay, I've heard that term before, but I'm not really sure what it means.
It all comes down to how they eat baleen whales. Unlike toothed whales, like orcas and dolphins.
Right.
They have these fringed plates in their mouths called baleen instead of teeth.
Oh, so they don't have teeth.
No teeth for these guys.
Uh-huh.
And these plates act like a sieve,
Interesting.
filtering out tiny crustaceans called krill from the water.
Ah, so they're not going after big prey or anything?
Exactly. They're basically giant filter feeders.
Huh. So that's what a baleen whale is.
That's it.
Yeah.
And this filtering feeding strategy is actually really important for understanding how our packrafter survived.
Oh, okay. I see where you're going with this.
Because they're not swallowing large prey, their esophagus is surprisingly narrow.
Really?
Only about 40 centimeters wide.
So how big is that?
That's barely larger than a human fist.
Wow, that's tiny for such a big animal.
Right. And that's the key to Adrian's survival. While the whale could engulf him in his raft, it physically couldn't swallow him whole.
I mean, that makes sense.
The whale essentially took a giant gulp,
Yeah.
realized it couldn't swallow what it had caught, and then spat him back out.
I mean, I can't even imagine, what would be going through your head at that point.
It would be absolutely terrifying.
It's wild.
But you know what's even crazier?
What?
Adrian's father actually filmed the whole thing.
No way.
Yeah, there's actual footage of this incident.
Wow. What I wouldn't give to see that video.
It would be incredible to see, wouldn't it? That moment of the whale breaching, Adrian disappearing into its mouth and then being ejected back into the water.
I mean, talk about a nature documentary.
Absolutely.
But, Adrian's firsthand account of what happened is pretty amazing, too.
Oh, yeah. It really brings his story to life.
He really goes into detail about the whole experience.
Oh, definitely. He doesn't hold back.
Yeah, he describes this feeling of being enveloped by something dark blue or white.
Wow.
And feeling this slimy texture brush against his face.
Oh, man. I bet.
Ugh.
That's pretty vivid.
It's so descriptive, you can really picture it.
Yeah, totally. Those sensory details like the dark blue, the sliminess, really put you right there with him. You can almost feel that cold water.
Right.
And just the sheer size of that whale.
And the moment of realization.
Oh, yeah.
He's sinking.
Yeah.
He's expecting this impact. And he's surrounded by water, and then he's like, I'm in something's mouth.
Oh, my goodness.
That would be so freaky.
That's got to be one of those things where, your brain just can't quite process it.
Right.
What's happening?
You don't have a frame of reference.
No, not at all.
For being inside a whale.
Yeah, it's just not something you ever expect to experience.
And he even talks about the feeling of being in a whirlpool.
Oh, wow.
Spinning around inside the whale's mouth.
It's amazing he remembers any of it.
Right. So crazy.
But thankfully, he managed to escape.
Unharmed, too.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
It really is.
But I do have to wonder, though, wouldn't that experience make you think twice about ever going pack rafting again?
I mean, I think most people would be pretty traumatized.
Right.
But this guy actually said he's going to keep doing it.
Really?
Yeah, he's not letting this stop him.
That's wild.
It is pretty remarkable, isn't it? Makes you wonder what drives people to keep pursuing these risky activities.
I mean, I guess for some people, the thrill of adventure outweighs the risks.
Yeah, maybe it's a way of confronting their fear.
Proving they won't be deterred by one bad experience.
Exactly. Or maybe for him, it's just a pure love of the sport.
I mean, I can understand that.
That passion that transcends the danger.
Yeah, it's fascinating how differently people perceive risk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really makes you think, what would you do in that situation,
Yeah, would you ever get back in a raft?
I don't know.
It's a tough call.
It really is.
Yeah.
But I guess the main takeaway here is that Adrian survived.
Yeah, and he survived because of a pretty simple anatomical fact.
Right, the whole esophagus thing.
Exactly. Even in the face of something so impossible, something like being swallowed by a whale,
yeah,
the survival can come down to the tiniest detail.
And I think it also shows us just how much we still don't know about nature.
Exactly. Like we think we have it all figured out, but there's always more to learn.
And sometimes it's that little bit of knowledge that can make all the difference.
Absolutely. Like knowing about baleen whales and how they eat could actually save your life.
Who knew, right?
You never know when a random fact is going to come in handy.
I guess that's why we do these deep dives.
Yeah, exactly. Always learning something new.
But beyond the survival aspect, I think Adrian's story also says something about us humans.
Oh, totally. Like what makes us seek out these adventures?
Yeah. Why do we push our limits even when it could be dangerous?
That's a good question. And honestly, I don't think there's a simple answer.
Probably not.
But I think Adrian's story is a perfect example of the resilience of the human spirit.
Totally. And that awe we feel
for
the natural world.
I mean, imagine seeing a whale in the wild.
Yeah.
It's just incredible.
Makes you realize how small we are.
Yeah. Puts things in perspective.
So maybe the next time you're looking at the ocean, you'll remember Adrian's story.
And all those whales out there.
And have a little more respect for nature.
Yeah. Respect for nature. That's a good takeaway.
And maybe a healthy dose of caution.
Oh, definitely.
When you're out there exploring.
Safety first.
But keep exploring. Keep learning.
Absolutely. Keep diving deep.
That's what it's all about. Until next time.